what is the essence of the path of Jnana Yoga? How to apply this in practical life? When we look at Bhagavad Gita, we see that Krishna, when discussing with Arjuna, first adopts to the path of Jnana. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we see the discussions happening on the Sankhya Yoga, where Krishna actually focuses on the nature of the self. So, so let us look at the scriptural understanding of what is this path of Jnana Yoga. Krishna describes, that Jnana is very purifying, the knowledge of the self. Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papa krittamah sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. He says that even if a person is greatest sinner of all, then also Jnana has the power of purifying the person, and also through the boat of Jnana, he can cross over this ocean of material existence. It means that this path is open for all, and there should be, there are certain characteristics that are required for an individual who wants to grow on the path of Jnana. The eligibility to go in the path of Jnana, I will describe later. But fundamentally, we have to understand that all the sufferings that we get in our life, fundamentally, they all revolve around our individual self. So, say for example, if I feel different kind of negative emotions, you see that I is the center, me and mine. In depression, the fundamental root thought is I lost it. Whereas in fear is I won't get it or I am afraid. Similarly, in anger, hatred, pride, jealousy, lust, everywhere we can see that I forms the core from where all these negative thoughts are emerging, which are bringing suffering in the life. So one approach, which the Buddhist view adopted is to overcome this suffering. Let us understand what this I is, what this self is. And the understanding to which Buddha came is that actually there is no I. So this is something called as a Kaniza pattern, where as you look at it, the first thing that you see here is a square, but if you actually see, there is no square. There are just four different shapes, and they are generating an illusion of square being there, but in essence, square is absent. In the same way, my individual I is relative. I see myself as I see myself reflected in the eyes of my family, my society, my nation, my caste, my creed, my color. So all this is relative. And in essence, the Buddhist understanding is that there is no you, and it is the whole life, one phenomena of life which is functioning. And with this no I, one is in harmony with the creation, and everything that happens in this state is towards the well-being of the whole, because you are not there. On the other hand, there is another way in which this I can be dissolved or can be understand, and that is a more expansive kind of a view that we see in our Upanishads or in Bhagavad Gita also, where the self is expanded from its boundary of being limited to the body or to the close family, towards the nation, towards the world, and towards the whole universe. So from the limited self to the universal self, you become one, seeing the self in everything. That is the Upanishadic view. So in Bhagavad Gita, we see Sarva Bhutastham Atmanam Sarva Bhutani Cha Atmani. One who sees the self that lies within him as the same self which lies in other bhutas or other beings in the creation. And also he sees that all the beings are also in one universal self. Ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. With this eye of equanimity, the yogi is able to unite with the universal consciousness. So this is the aspect of expansion of the eye, seeing the self in everything. Very beautifully, Oprah Winfrey has said that the analogy of the wave in an ocean, a wave, when it rises up, it can feel that it is going up. When it goes down, it may feel that it is going down. But ultimately, there is only water, and nothing is going up or nothing is going down. The vast ocean is always there, steady, stable. The same way, two waves, when they come together, they may feel that they are uniting, or when they go away, they may feel they are separating. But ultimately, in essence, both waves are only water, and nothing is separating or meeting anything. Everything is one. So this is the idea of the self that comes from the Vedic literature. But it is, the mere idea does not help. You have to experience that tattva, that real knowledge has to manifest within you as a form of a real experiential insight. So how to do that? So I was telling you that it requires certain eligibility criteria, and you have to do that. Say, this idea of the self, that we are talking about in the Vedas, is also used in psychotherapy, where my I, the individual I, generates its thought, emotion, feelings. And the cognitive behavioral therapy, rather than working on the core I, works on the changing the thought process. Whereas the REBT works towards working on feeling and behaviors. But now the third generation psychotherapy, the mindfulness based psychotherapy, actually uses this concept of the metacognitive self. Am I the self which is entangled in these thoughts, emotion, and feelings? Or am I the self which is the witness, which is the sakshi of whatever that goes on, which is completely non judgmental? So, this is the application of this in psychotherapy. In fact, the very definition of health, according to yoga or Ayurveda, is swa, it means self, stha, it means getting established in. So, therefore, this is given a lot of importance in mental health and physical health. So Gita describes Shraddhavanam labhate jnanam tatparah sanyatendriyah jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena dhigacchati. Those who seek knowledge, they should have three qualities. Number one, that they should have deep faith. Shraddha means that even though you do not experience it right now, you have a firm belief that if you walk on this path, you will experience it. And therefore, whatever you read in the scriptures which does not come to your experience, you have firm belief that if I really test it with patience, I am going to experience it, and therefore I have faith. That is known as Shraddha. In fact, all the science, all the hypotheses begin with a faith. I do not know, but I hypothesize something. And then I have the conviction of doing the experiment, doing the research. Why do I do research? Because I believe that I will know the truth if I test it out. In the same way, the scriptures, which have stood the test of time for thousands of years, the individual believes that if I really test what is written in those scriptures, I will get the truth. This is known as Shraddha. This is not a blind belief and intellectual understanding. This is the conviction to work or walk on that path. So Shraddha is very important. Second is tatparata. Tatparata is that one should really have that zeal, that enthusiasm of obtaining the knowledge. Always one should be ready to work towards it. And then the third and most important one is sanyatendriyaha. Anybody working on the path of knowledge requires that purity of the intellect to go deeper into the questioning and gain deeper insights. And for that, definitely individual needs control over the senses and the mind. Excessive indulgences in sense pleasures, according to yoga, dulls the mind and prevents the ability for deeper contemplation. So jnanam labdhva, once an individual gets that deeper insight, then very quickly he attains everlasting supreme peace. So this is the eligibility. But then how do you practically apply this path of jnana into your life? So the yogic literature is very clear about it. There is a very systematic threefold process of sadhana or the practice. The first step is Shravana. Shravana is where you hear it, hearing from a guru or a qualified spiritual teacher. How do you define a teacher? A teacher is someone who always, talks from his real experience, his experiential knowledge, and not something that he has heard or learned from anything. Secondly, a teacher always is able to justify his statements by giving references from authentic scriptures. So he has the scriptural basis and he talks from his own experience. Then when you hear from such a person, you listen to it first. Then in the next step, whatever that you have heard, you reflect on it. You isolate yourself. A Jnana Yogi is always a Vivikta Sevi. You isolate, you deeply analyze, contemplate, and ask deeper questions on what you have heard. Deeper and deeper questions. Many a times when you ask something from inside you only, you get the answer. But then, even then, asking within yourself, if you are not getting the answer, then you should do the pariprashna, ask the guru again. Bhagavad Gita says, what is the method of this pariprashna or again asking the question? It says that the individual, should approach the guru, pariprashnena sevaya, and should approach the guru with lot of reverence, not with the kind of a ego that he wants to prove the guru wrong or wants to show his own knowledge. He should approach the guru with lot of reverence. In fact, in Vedic literature, if you see any student who came like that, guru, asked him to do seva or penance or service for many years, before answering his question. Probably the intention of the guru there is to really know whether the student really has that intensity and patience to know the answer, or he's just asking for the sake of asking. Such a student would leave the ashrama and would not do the required period of service. But if there is really a burning question, then the student would have the patience and would do the service for that long. So Bhagavad Gita says that tad vidhi pranipatena, that you should know by pranipata, by bowing down, surrendering your ego. Pariprashna, then you should ask. Do not expect that answer will come without asking. You have to ask with reverence. And then pariprashnena sevaya, serve the guru. And if he is not answering, respect that. Wait, show patience. And then what will happen after that? Updekshanti te jnanam jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha. Those tattvadarshi jnanis will then give you the updesha in knowledge, will remove your doubts. And with that, you will get an insight. Once you get certain kind of an insight, when your all doubts are removed, then you should apply this knowledge that you have gained in your real life. This is known as nididhyasana. Meditating on what you have heard from the guru, remembering it again and again. In nididhyasana, smarana becomes a very, very important part, where you write it down somewhere every day, remind yourself of the insight that you have got, and then start applying that in your life. And then this is the time when you apply your hypothesis and really test it out whether what the guru said or what is written in the scripture is correct or not. So you apply it, you test it, you get more and more insight by doing that. And once your tested hypothesis proves that it is correct, then it becomes a part of your life. You assimilate it. Now nothing can shake you from here. So this is how an individual grows on the path of jnana. There are many seers who have actually grown in this path. If you want to do such shravana, people ask, for the Jnana Yoga, what should I read? Where should I contemplate? So in Brihadaranya Upanishad, Yajnavalkya tells his wife, oh my dear, self should be heard of, reflected on and meditated upon. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. This is what is written there. And who are the greatest Jnana yogis? We see Ramana Maharshi, his whole philosophy is dwelling on the question, who am I? Who is the sufferer? Who wants to know the purpose of life? Who wants to know the secret of creation? Who is searching God? I will answer all that later. First, let me understand who is the questioner. So when you give up thinking of outward objects and prevent your mind from going outward and turn it inward, fix it in the self alone will remain. So deeper, understanding of Ramana's philosophy, you can read about it. Another very wonderful, great philosopher is J. Krishnamurti. J. Krishnamurti, in his very famous book, Freedom from the Known, goes into the very depth of this question of who am I? Similarly, we see that in traditional literature, Ashtavakra Gita, where there is a dialogue between great, Jnana Yogi Ashtavakra with Janaka. And this particular text also is really a blessing for those who want to walk on the path of Jnana. Similarly, in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you get a lot of insight into the self, where Krishna reveals the very nature of the self. Where does this self reside? What is its essence? What are its properties? So the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So these are the readings, which are suggested. Fundamentally, the whole path of Jnana is about questioning, deeper and deeper questioning. And this question should become a burning center of your life. I remember an incident where Swami Vivekananda would go to every person and ask, have you seen God? In fact, once a yogi came to his village and he couldn't meet him. It was raining heavily. He jumped into the river, crossed the river just to ask this question to the yogi, have you seen God? So that is the kind of a questioning that a Jnana yogi has and grows by using the tool of the sharp and purified intellect. Thank you.